Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're here, then you've probably already heard some whispers about major changes coming to SASSA in June 2025, and let me tell you, they're not just rumors. These are real, confirmed, and potentially life-changing updates that could impact millions of South Africans relying on grants to survive month to month. Whether you're a beneficiary of the SRD grant, child support grant, old age pension, or disability grant, these shocking new rules could change everything for you. That's why today's video is an absolute must-watch. Don't skip, don't click away, and definitely don't wait until it's too late. You need to know what's going on, how to prepare, and how to protect your access to the financial support you count on. This is not just another policy update, this is something that could affect your daily life, your groceries, your rent, your kids' school fees, and even your healthcare. So let's dive deep into what's happening with SASSA this June, what's behind the changes, and what you need to do immediately. To start with, the South African Social Security Agency, or SASSA, is implementing a new set of rules aimed at tightening the eligibility requirements for all grant categories. This comes at a time when the country is facing intense economic pressures, with rising inflation, ongoing power issues, and significant increases in the cost of living. The Department of Social Development says these changes are meant to ensure that only those who genuinely qualify for support receive it, which sounds good on paper. But what does it mean in reality? It means stricter assessments. It means more documentation. It means that more people are going to get declined, suspended, or even deregistered from the SASSA system altogether if they don't act fast and follow the new rules to the letter. One of the most immediate changes affects the Social Relief of Distress (SRD) grant, better known as the R370 grant. If you've been receiving the SRD monthly, you need to know that SASSA is implementing a fresh round of income means testing starting in June 2025. This time, however, the bank verification threshold is changing from a 624 per month to a much tighter 480. That's right, if your bank account shows any deposit above a 480 in a given month, even if it's just a temporary loan from a friend or once-off side hustle, you risk being disqualified from receiving the grant for that month. This is one of the biggest shifts in the SRD grant criteria we've seen since its inception. And it's already sparking outrage across social media, because many feel this threshold is too low given today's cost of living. But whether you agree or disagree, this is the rule, and it's starting now. The reason for this change, according to SASSA officials, is to clamp down on fraud and ensure that grants are going to the truly vulnerable, those with little to no income whatsoever. However, critics argue that this new threshold ignores the reality of informal work, the gig economy, and family support systems that many rely on. A person who gets a 500 transfer from a family member just to buy groceries could now be flagged as ineligible. Imagine that. Just a small gesture of kindness from a loved one could cost you your only consistent source of income. That's the kind of pressure people are under, and it's critical to know how this will impact your bank statements and grant status moving forward. But the SRD grant isn't the only one being hit with changes. The child support grant is also under a new verification procedure that will be rolled out in phases starting in June. Parents and guardians receiving this grant will now need to reconfirm the schooling status of the children in their care every 6 months. This is being tied directly into the Department of Basic Education's database. What this means is that if a child is no longer attending a registered school, the caregiver's grant could be suspended or stopped altogether. It's a move intended to encourage school attendance and reduce dropout rates, but for many households, this could cause real administrative headaches. Families living in remote areas or without access to reliable internet and transport are particularly vulnerable under this new system. Another surprising and somewhat alarming update comes in the form of a biometric verification trial that's starting in select provinces. SASSA is introducing facial recognition and fingerprint scanning to minimize identity theft and fraud. On the surface, this might sound like a good thing, especially given the rise in fraudulent claims over the past few years. But there are real concerns about implementation, privacy, and technical glitches. Beneficiaries will now be required to visit designated SASSA offices or mobile units to complete biometric enrollment, and if you don't comply, your payments may be withheld. This is one of the most controversial moves yet, and it's important to stay alert to updates on when and where your enrollment will be required. Miss the window, and your grant could be placed on hold. For pensioners and disability grant recipients, the changes are slightly different but no less critical. SASSA is now mandating a full revalidation of medical records for all disability grant beneficiaries every 18 months. Previously, this was done every 2 years. This might not sound like a massive change, but when you're dealing with long waiting lines, overwhelmed clinics, and limited access to specialists, it's an extra burden many are not prepared for. Failure to revalidate on time could result in grant suspension, and once it's stopped, restarting the process can take months. The message here is clear: plan ahead, book your doctor's appointments now, and make sure your paperwork is updated. Old age pensioners are being asked to re-verify their identity using either biometric checks or certified documents every year instead of every 3 years. This new annual verification requirement is also being tied into the South African Post Bank and other payout partners to ensure that payments go to the right person. Officials say this is to eliminate ghost payments, grants being paid to people who are no longer alive. But again, the onus is now on the recipient to complete the process, not on the agency. If your documentation isn't submitted in time, your grant could be stopped until the issue is resolved. That's why knowing the deadline is absolutely crucial. In addition to these eligibility and verification changes, SASSA is also piloting a major change in how payments are distributed. The traditional post office and bank account payment options are being expanded to include mobile wallet systems through companies like MTN Momo and Shoprite's Money Market. While this might bring more convenience and reach, it's also going to confuse a lot of people who are unfamiliar with digital financial systems. And as usual, scammers are already preparing to take advantage of that confusion. If you receive any messages claiming you must relink or confirm your SASSA grant via a suspicious link or number, do not respond. Only use official channels and never share your ID or banking details over the phone or social media. What's really catching people off guard is how little time there is to adjust to these changes. Many of these rules are already in place or will be effective from the first week of June 2025. That gives beneficiaries only a few weeks or even days to prepare. And that's where the danger lies. If you miss an update, ignore a request from SASSA, or delay revalidating your documents, your payment may not come through on time, or worse, could be stopped indefinitely. There's no grace period being offered in most of these cases. The Department of Social Development has said that the rules were already communicated months ago, even though most people are only finding out about them now. Let's also talk about the emotional and psychological impact of all this. For many South Africans, these grants are not just money, they are survival. Food, medicine, rent, transport, school uniforms. These grants are a safety net in a country where job opportunities are scarce and wages are often far below what's needed to survive. The uncertainty these changes are creating is causing widespread anxiety. Community WhatsApp groups are blowing up with questions, rumors, and panicked voice notes. Elderly people are standing in long queues to ask questions only to be told to go online, even when they don't have smartphones. Young parents are unsure whether their child will still qualify if they had to drop out of school due to financial pressures. These are real concerns, and there are no easy answers. So what can you do right now to protect your grant? First, log into your SASSA status portal either via the website or mobile application and make sure all your information is up to date. Check your ID number, your contact details, your bank information, and your most recent means test results. If anything looks wrong or outdated, fix it immediately. Second, gather all your necessary documents. For SRD, this includes proof of income, or lack thereof, banking statements, and your ID. For child support grants, make sure your child's school registration is confirmed. For disability grants, start scheduling your medical reassessments now. Don't wait for an SMS or email. Be proactive. Third, prepare for biometric enrollment. If you receive a message about visiting a SASSA site for facial or fingerprint scanning, don't ignore it. These appointments are going to be essential for continuing your benefits. If you're unsure whether the message is real, call the official SASSA helpline or visit your nearest office to verify. Never take advice from strangers in WhatsApp groups or on Facebook. And finally, educate those around you. Talk to your family members, your neighbors, your church group, or your community center. The more people are informed, the less likely they'll fall for scams or miss deadlines. Even small actions, like helping an elderly neighbor submit their documents online, can make a huge difference. In conclusion, June 2025 is not going to be business as usual for SASSA grant recipients. These shocking new rules are going to affect millions, and the only way to stay ahead is to be informed, be proactive, and be careful. If you're not paying attention, you could wake up one day to find your grant has been suspended, your payment delayed, or your eligibility removed entirely. And in today's tough economic times, that's the last thing anyone needs. That's it for today's video, but before you go, please, if you found this information useful or if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this video with them. Help us spread the word and protect our communities from unnecessary suffering and confusion. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more updates just like this, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a critical SASSA alert. I'll be back soon with more news, but until then, take care, stay safe, and make sure your paperwork is in order before it's too late.